We'll be talking matters the Finance Bill 2023. And now just to bring to table on what is happening, the proposed Finance Bill was to be tabled at the National Assembly on Tuesday. This is after the Finance and Planning Committee finished scrutinizing the controversial bill. The National Treasury on the 4th of May tabled the bill in the National Assembly, sparking uproar from leaders and the public. The proposed taxes have met opposition from within Parliament and outside. Labour unions, employer lobbyists, trade association and civil society groups are among those who have called for amendments. The bill proposes, among other things, a house levy on workers' salaries, increased taxes on fuel and the new taxes on beauty products, among others. Now joining me to have this conversation is Tracy Ocheng, our reporter who has been following on the same, and we'll get insights from her and keep the comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. Good evening, Tracy. I hope you're able to hear me clearly.
Good evening, Betty. I can hear you.
There has been a lot of concern when it comes to the Financial Bill 2023. It has brought in new taxes. We have the taxing of course, with the monetization content creators, and we also have the introduction of other new taxes like the house fund levy. Now, is it an issue of tax increment or an issue of accountability based on your observation?
Well, Betty, if we go back to the conversations that have been prevailing in this country, remember in 2021, the former President Uhuru Kenyatta talked about Kenya losing 2 billion shillings a day. That 2 billion shillings a day is the enough allocation for Lamu County by itself. So again, we're going back to accountability of the taxes, because I don't think Kenyans are aware that they must pay taxes. It's their duty to pay taxes. In fact, kulipa ushuru ni kujitegemea. But now, if you're paying the tax and you're not seeing where it is going, then it must be an accountability issue. It's not a tax increment issue. So Kenyans are asking for accountability on, if we're talking about 2 billion shillings a day, do we have plans that have been used to mitigate this loss every day? Because that's a lot of money. 730 billion shillings a day a year that's quite too much. So it's an accountability issue more than a tax increment issue.
Now, the bill in itself, it did have some hits and misses, but based on the observations that we have seen from civil societies, from organizations coming out, there is a lot of dissatisfaction from the people as well. Is there a point that is missing with this? Is there a point that they are not getting in this finance bill? Is there a point that did not hit home?
Yes, we are hitting the finance bill by far. Remember the conversation we had yesterday? The credibility of this finance bill first. How did it start? It's coming out of Parliament, which is already a constitutional illegality. So by that, we're already just missing the point. Again, when the housing fund has been reduced from 3% to 1.5%, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more in this finance bill that Kenyans are missing on. The 16% VAT on petroleum, the 16% on compensation of your insurance when you get in an accident or when you lose property. So we are really missing a lot on how to analyze the entirety of this finance bill. And in as much as the 3% has been reduced to 1.5%, which seems to be the bone of contention with most people, you'll see Kenyans online saying, okay, now that they've reduced the 3% to 1.5%, we're expecting that the Azimio camp can now support the bill. But that's not the issue. The issue is that only 3 million Kenyans are employed, and you cannot this is an overly taxation on these people already giving a lot. NHIF is there, NSSF, and then to add on top 3%, there's a conversation that we had recently in the newsroom, and it was almost like Kenyans are being taxed for being rich. But it's not only rich Kenyans who are being taxed, it's also Kenyans who are working as teachers, who we have also seen that the unions are advocating for them to get their salaries on time. So they're not getting their salaries on time, but they're also having more tax levies on them. So we're seeing really misappropriation, or we don't have priorities right now as the Kenyan government. And also just to reiterate and to emphasize that we have missed the point by far, because this bill is not coming from the parliament, it's coming from outside the parliament. And you've heard Rigathi Gachagua saying, mtuachie bill yetu, but bado tunawaheshimu. So there's double speak as usual. As what we've observed currently, that there's double speak with the government, especially with this finance bill. We want them to let the National Assembly do their job, and their job is to one of the jobs is to bring the budget proposal to the House. So yes, Betty, that is where we're at the moment.
Now, thank you so much, Tracy Ocheng, for that detailed answer, and I believe a lot of people are getting to understand what is happening in Matters Finance Bill 2023. Of course, remember, you can keep the comments coming in and tell us your thoughts on the same. The SMS line is 21144. Tracy Ocheng, we have the Tax Advisory Firm, PKF, today. They did have a press briefing where they did talk about some of the recommendations they were giving. They wanted some sections of the finance bill to be amended. Now, just to be in particular, they did talk about the content creators who have monetized their content. Now, there was an introduction of a 15% of their income. Now, maybe you'll give us insights of the same, what impact it will have to them, and of course, considering this is the first time they are being taxed as well. And then they talk about the house fund levy, where they said the house fund levy does not guarantee that those being given those who are giving the part of their salaries will be able to get these houses. And of course, the employers who have a lot of workers being able to, of course, cater for all the workers is some kind of inconsistencies. Now, putting in consideration that the head of state had said he's going to provide 5 million jobs for the youths, and this will come in terms of the house fund levy in creating of these affordable houses. There will need for, of course, manual power on the same. Tell us, why not the finance bill, considering that there has been a reduction by half, from 3% to 1.5%?
It's a packed question, so let me break it down, starting from content creators paying tax. Of course, content creators should be paying tax. That is their duty as a citizen of Kenya, to pay tax. And an interesting thing, Betty, is that this content creators tax is not new to this country. It has been existing. It's only that there's not been much emphasis on it. 2 years ago, you'll find many videos on Kenya Revenue Authority and some well-known, well-renowned bloggers or vloggers like Caroline Mtoko talking about how to file your returns as a content creator. The difference is, before it was 1.5%, and now we're seeing in this budget proposal, that it is 15%. So we're seeing an increase of 1.5% to 15%. So that's quite high. And now we've seen that among the recommendations or amendments that are supposed to be tabled today, which the National Finance Committee was unable to because they're still compiling the report, you'll see that the content creator tax has been reduced to 5%. So it is essential for a content creator to pay tax, because that is your duty, again, as a Kenyan citizen. But the bone of contention comes when there are content creators who are making millions. So can there be a tax limit, just the way we have turnover tax for organizations or businesses that make 15 million to 50 million? So we can have a segment or a tax limit for content creators, those who are making below 10,000, those who are making 50,000, so that they can know how to equalize this. Because if you're taxing 15%, if it was to be not to be amended, and you're taxing 15% of someone who's just getting 10,000, and Betty, the thing with content creation is not that you're getting money all the time. This is something that when you get a deal or a good brand sponsorship, then that's when you start getting your money. So those are some of the amendments that were made to be tabled today. Again, for the employers and employees, 1.5% or 3% housing levy tax. The development is that now it's not going to apply to the employers, but specifically to the employees, because truly, if you have 1,000 employees and you're recommended to pay 3% for all of these 1,000 employees, then it means that there's going to be a lot of retrenchments and people are going to lose their jobs. Again, that's where the absurdity of this whole finance bill, this whole housing levy comes in. Fine, we're building the houses. How long will this project take? Let's say 7 years. So after 7 years, we probably will run out of jobs, because now after the houses have been built, what next? And now because we have Kenyan citizens who are graduating in law firms, they're graduating from media, they're graduating as doctors. Are they also going to work as manual labor in the housing projects? Kazi ni kazi. No, we're not despising any kind of job, but there's so much absurdity and there's so much ambiguity in this housing levy, and that's why it's getting a lot of rejection from the Kenyan population.
just to continue with what you have outlined, we come back to the we come back to the Finance Bill 2023. We did see the president make a change with the House Fund levy taking it from 3% to 1.5%, but you could note clearly that the petroleum product 16% was still maintained from 8% to 16%. That is double of the initial taxation. Now, what impact, considering all those factors, now if the finance bill is passed, what economic impact will it have on Kenyans?
Betty, you've seen that nowadays, the story that just came before this, that 1,000 shillings right now can only get you 2 kilograms of sugar and at most 2 kilograms of unga. So that's where we're heading, and the finance bill has not yet been passed. So, you know, petroleum runs everything in this country. When you need to transport food, you need petrol. You need to run electricity. There's petrol needed. Everything is reliant upon the inflation or deflation of these petroleum products. But now when we have an inflation to the amount of 16%, then it means the economy crashed down. The crisis is going to be even much worse. If 1,000 shilling, no, that's the value of 1,000 shilling, not today as it stands. How about when the finance bill or when the budget is read on 15th or when the finance bill is approved? So Kenyans really have to tighten up and saddle up, because it's going to be a bumpy ride moving forward if this finance bill is not relooked again, and then we start the process again, the constitutional process, which means that the budget proposal has to begin from the legislature, from the National Assembly, as the recommended power that has the power to bring up the proposals. So if you're standing today and you cannot fund your whole house with 1,000 shillings, or even send it to your mother or your family, any family member, 1,000 shillings right now, it's almost like the value of 1,000 shillings is going down. Not like it has actually gone down. If you can only get those 2 items, and before we could afford quite a number of items, then it's something that Kenyans should be worried about, because we're heading to really tough economic times, and Kenyans have been asked to saddle up and prepare for even worse economic times.